Hello again, YouTubers. It is the SWP Disciple checking in on the trek back to Springfield. It took me a little while to get back on the beaten path. My Waze decided to act up, and like the router wasn't connecting or whatever. And then I remembered, I have Google Maps. And then I kind of I was already on my way, stumbling onto the correct track. Not that I'm a Pathfinder or anything, but my general compass is to kind of just assume I know I'm heading back north, relative to Pennsylvania, back to Western Mass. So I just got an 11 north and then eventually ran into 81 north and then 84. Then it was continue for 182 miles on 84 east. And I was like, sweet. Good old United States grid system. Of course, even numbers is lateral and odd numbers is vertical. So yeah, I'll be on this route for the next, 3 hours or so. And then it's 20 miles back on 91 to get back to my house. So it's pretty much all 84. So anyway, as you can tell, I am no longer in the 2018 Mitsubishi Outlander. I am in the 2007 Honda Accord Coupe 6-speed manual V6. Let me pan down a little bit. And that's what makes this car special, so to speak, that 6-speed manual. You'll notice the red V6 emblem in the back, which comes on this end. Super rare on the sedan, but that's what means it's a manual. So the first thing that jumps out at me now, I see why the auto journalists, why they like driving cars back to back. The interior materials. So the 2018 Outlander, my little pseudo 5-6 minute review or whatever, where at the end there's a little joke because I'm turning into a one-way street, but it looks like a two-way, but then I notice it as I'm already committed, and it's right at the very end. Little joke. I was turning into a parking lot anyway, so no big deal. But yeah, as we transition from the weekend to Post Malone, and this has Bluetooth, some Mickey Mouse Bluetooth. I'll show you that little module right there, but it works pretty well. Because Lord knows I was gonna get the OEM Honda joint for the aux or whatever, and probably pay a couple $100. But he already had his little setup, so sweet. And there was no drilling; it's stuck on there with a sticker essentially, so no damage. I'll pan over to it. No damage to the car, so sweet. So first thing that jumps out at me, the interior materials to this car, substantially better than that 2018 Outlander, a car that's 11 years newer. Now, this is some between the lines, Accord nerd type shit, which, is there even such a thing? So whoever was their parts supplier, I should probably research that, but Honda used a different interior supplier relative to the 98 to 02, I think it is, and then the 08 to 2013. So this interior is basically ACURA grade, so it's much nicer than the Accords before or after. They just in 2014 or 15 kind of returned to form with a really nice interior. But this interior is much nicer than certainly anything that was in its class at the time. I'm trying to think. Yeah, better than Mazda, better than the Toyota. I don't really count the Passat because Volkswagen always had a nice interior. But yeah, this was a really nice interior. I mean, I don't know how well you can see it in the video, but if you touch it, there's soft touch materials everywhere. It's a very nice material, a very nice interior. And I remember thinking the same thing when I had my 05 back in the day, 4 years ago. So my 05 was what preceded the very brief G37 I had, and certainly before the Lexus. And actually, that's a good compro, right? So the Lexus IS250 that I had, I would put maybe just a slight cut above this. So that's how nice this interior is. If that Lexus was like an 8 interior, I would say, with a 10 being like, you know, like a new, I'd say like a 9 is like a new Audi, and like a 10 would be like, I don't know, like an Aston Martin or something like that. So that's how nice that Lexus interior was. But this I would put maybe at like a 7. You know, the 03 through 2007, this being an 07 Accord interior. That's how nice it is. So it's like a cut below, just like, you know, like a, you know, current year, like, you know, Audi, BMW, Mercedes type interior, or you know, contemporary Lexus for that matter. But enough of that. How does this car feel? It feels like a large Prelude. And I didn't really think of it before, because obviously like my 05 that I had was an EXL, which is this trim level, but it didn't have the V6. It was a 4 and it was the 5-speed automatic. This is the 6-speed manual, but with like, you know, a nicer interior. It feels, in terms of like acceleration and driving characteristics, like a bigger Prelude. So if you know anything about the Prelude with the H22A motor, nice interior. Very similar to this, but this is maybe a little nicer interior. Certainly the leather. My Prelude, I don't know if you can see that too well. My Prelude was cloth, which you would prefer for that car. They did come in leather, but you would prefer the cloth, I would say. That's more appropriate to that grade of car. But the drive characteristics, so, you know, the Prelude would be in the Sport Compact, but it drove bigger. It was like 3,000 pounds or right under, like maybe like 2980 something. So call it 3,000 pounds. This is just under 3,300 pounds, and you can feel much of the extra 300 pounds. Just as the Prelude, you could feel the extra, say, 300 pounds for that, compared to like, you know, an Integra or RSX or something like that. I think an Integra probably was more like 2,600 pounds, but right at around 27. And you actually appreciate it, right? Because like, in some regards, unless you're getting on a track or you're really one of those people who's like really on the twisty like B roads or whatever, 3,000 pounds is about right. 2,700 pounds starts to sound a little hollow, even though BMW did a good job with their Integras and RSXs of making 2,700 pounds feel about as substantial as it can possibly be. But yeah, for this I think it's like 3,270 or so, like just under 3,300 pounds. It feels right, because like, you know, it's a dimensionally bigger car, and that's the best thing I could say, and that's a good thing for a front driver. It feels like a bigger Prelude, and I'm impressed. I'm only about 50 miles into this driving experience. I got it. I don't know if you can see the odometer. I'm going to kind of pan closer to it right now. I'm at 116,740. I bought it with 116. 995, 993 or so. But yeah, I'm impressed. I expect this to be serve me a good while. The idea is for it to serve me at least a couple years, and then I'll get a proper car when hopefully I'm in a much nicer, much better financial position. You know, not that I'm destitute now, but I had a couple important people that wouldn't let me spend all the way up to my margin. So I could have bought a car that was like 30 something, but to be honest, I really, once, you know, I had a couple false starts. You know, I basically bought a 335 and then was tantrumed into not getting it, and then I had like actually a very similar car in idea, but all-wheel drive, the 2012 Acura TL, but with the super handling all-wheel drive and a 6-speed manual. Another rare bird, so you kind of get a feel for my personality. I like cars that people can't easily assume, that are hard to find. I think that adds to the fun. But yeah, very impressed. This car accelerates really well. When it was new, the 0 to 60 was like 5.8. I'm sure at like, you know, 117,000 miles almost, it's not going to be that quick anymore, but it certainly feels like it's in the low 6s easily. Has a very like, almost like Teutonic, like solid feel. But then you get, you know, to boot the Japanese reliability. And the previous owner, he had changed the timing belt like 2 years ago, I think at about 110,000 miles or whatever. So this is like, it's all up to, and we were even like, you know, just chatting, like, you know, nerd stuff about like the transmission fluid. He actually said that a GM transmission fluid is better than the Honda transmission fluid in this, and he had recently done a flush, and it just feels like it's really well taken care of. Outside looks really, really solid. I mean, you get like, a couple little like, rock chips up front or whatever, but it's in really good shape. The interior is like a grade 9, and it's the right combo too, with like the, it's black on black with the faux carbon fiber trim, but it actually looks really nice. It wears really well. I remember thinking that with my 05 when I sold it, which I shouldn't have sold. It had the brown with it was black, excuse me, with like dark brown trim pieces, and then the actual leather was like a tan, but it wore really well. So I'm like about 220 pounds. When I'm in really good shape, I get down to like the low 2s. The gentleman I bought it off of, he appeared to be like 5'8", probably like 140, whatever, which helps in the wear of the car, of the leather, because like the leather, even the driver's seat looks like it's barely been sat in, and the rest of it looks like it's in fact never been sat in, just about. And I guess he bought it at about 40,000 miles, so he's had it for a long time, like 8 years. So I like that. So I'm only the third proper owner. Yeah, so I'll give you a little more about it. I mean, this is like state-of-the-art 2007, and really based off of like 2003 architecture or whatever. So this is like a pretty well researched car. It doesn't have a timing chain like the 4-cylinder. This is a timing belt, but which is good in the sense of like smoothness, and it doesn't have that ticking sound of like a chain, which oddly my 2000 Corolla has a timing chain, which are virtually indestructible, but it's not quite as smooth. That's the trade-off. A little bit of nerd history. So many years ago, in the earlier years of cars, chains are actually what they used, but then because of like cost efficiency and smoothness, they went to belts. And then now, as of like the last like X amount of years, a lot of newer cars have gone back to the chain, because like you only change it when you need to. It's not like the change anywhere from 60 to 100,000 miles. And that's why a lot of newer cars, they kind of have like that almost like direct injection, kind of like ticking. No, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a chain. But yeah, for whatever that's worth. But yeah, let me enjoy this drive in this Snick 6-speed manual. I enjoyed it. It's very positive shifting. I won't lie to you and say that it's like super short shifting, but it's certainly shorter than like your typical like lost leader manual that you might get in like some Econo box. It feels good. And yeah, you'll notice that the gauges light up quite well. That's because it was LED at a time when a lot of cars were still using just regular like, I don't want to say like incandescent bulbs, but like halogen or whatever it's called. But it wasn't LED. You'll notice that this looks as bright as it was new, and it just has that real crisp, precise gauge lighting, which I like. And the rear lenses were LED, which of course now everything's LED, but back in like the mid 2000s, this was not a thing. This was actually quite a big deal, and which is consistent with the overall quality of the car. For whatever reason, Honda just went all out and went with like a very nice interior materials, and LED lighting, rear lenses as well. So thank you, Honda. Anyway, enough chatting. Stay with me. God bless.